Now, for more on that story, we're joined by Bruce Hill from Radio Australia. Bruce, it's going to be a pretty extraordinary, non-existent day for Samoans.
Well, interestingly enough, obviously tourists aren't going to be charged for a day that they, didn't actually happen. But apparently staff of the hotels are going to be paid, so they're pretty happy about that.
Now, how did this come about?
Well, the Prime Minister of Samoa, Tuela Epa Sailele, as you saw on that piece, has been engaged in quite a sort of unilateral reform program. He, a while ago, decided they were going to change the side of the road that they drive on from the right to the left, again to bring it into line with Australia and New Zealand, meant that people's relatives overseas could send them cars that, with the right sort of drive. Yeah. And he just decided that it made more sense. They do business with Australia and New Zealand and also Asia, and they're just on the wrong side of the date line. I know as a reporter working there that it's very frustrating. I come in on Monday and it's still Sunday and no one's there.
No one's answering the phone.
Which is terrible for a journalist.
And you've still got a file.
Exactly.
Does it represent a bit of a historical shift from Samoa in the past having much closer links to America and that now shifting?
In the late 19th century and early 20th century, they did a lot of business with America. A lot of American whaling ships were there. In fact, this isn't the first time they've changed. They actually were on the other side of the date line beforehand, but when they decided that they'd do a lot of business with America, they actually changed. I think it's very much in the late 19th century. They actually had 2 4ths of July.
So 100 years on, they're now losing that extra day that they'd gained when they switched last time.
I think very few people would have been alive to have actually experienced both of them. So
now, as part of this change, people can have 2 New Year's Eves, I believe, one in Samoa and one in American Samoa.
Yes, in fact, it's pretty good from the other end as well. You can also, if it's Sunday in one country and you have to go to church, you can get on a plane, fly across. It takes about half an hour to the other one, and the pubs are still open.
Oh, there you go.
But as much as it might make it easier to do business with Australia and New Zealand, doesn't it then make it harder to do business with some of their geographically closer neighbours like American Samoa?
Well, American Samoa is just across the strait. It's very, very close. It's going to be interesting. Essentially, they're not the same country, but I mean, Samoa is still Samoa. One is oriented to America, the other to Australia and New Zealand. They're very, very closely related. It's going to make for some very interesting things that we can't necessarily foresee. There is one group that, however, is going to be, it's caused a problem for, and that's the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which their big thing is that they worship on a Saturday. They've broken into 2 factions, one of which is going to worship on the new Saturday, and another faction which doesn't recognise it, and it's going to be the only Seventh-day Adventist church which actually holds their worship services on a Sunday.
Which is extraordinary. Which
rather undercuts the whole purpose of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Now, what about babies born on Friday, December the 30th?
Well, there is no.
But
you can't be born on the day. It doesn't exist.
Because then they won't have a birthday, and you can't do it because you don't have a birthday.
A bit like leap year, really. But even if they're born, I'm confused.
There's no. I'll stop
Don't think too hard. I think that's the key.
There's no official manual for this, I'm afraid.
So can we expect any more significant reforms being declared by the Samoan leadership after these 2 significant ones?
Yes, apparently the Prime Minister has announced the next project is he's going to change the flag.
Do we know what to?
No.
All right, well,
no one does. It's something of a sore point in Samoa. The Prime Minister occasionally comes out with these pronouncements and people wait with bated breath to see what's going to happen next.
So we'll wait to see what he decides the flag will be. Bruce Hill from Radio Australia, thanks very much for taking us through what can be a very confusing situation.
Thanks, Bruce.